How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Okay. Well, you have a really important role here. Tell us before you get into the storefront repair fund, tell us a bit about you and what got you to Office of Economic Development.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I, before the Office of Economic Development, was an entrepreneur and ran a podcast to do similar to what y'all are doing here. How do we get the word out about what's going on in the city? Specifically focus on small business entrepreneurs. And that landed me in direct connection with the Office of Economic Development as a small business advocate. And so there are about 5 or 6 of us on the team in the Office of Economic Development, and we do everything from assisting businesses, from folks that just have an idea and that are already sort of doing the business on the ground without the license and wanting to get it structured, to legacy businesses that have been around for quite some time that are thinking about how do I scale my business or how do I pass this business down to my loved ones for to continue the business as it goes on.
Yeah, I mean, small business is really like it's key. We think about generational wealth, we think about
Absolutely.
opportunities, and particularly around ownership, which
Yep.
is so huge. And I know you know that as an
Absolutely.
entrepreneur yourself. But
Absolutely.
so you bring a lot of lived experience to the role. What are some of the things that you are really excited for in your role now that you come from that other side, and now you're like helping those who are just like you?
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of dig deep into where are we now, right? In 2022, I don't want to say post COVID, but post shutdowns and things of that nature. How do businesses innovate and pivot based on what was learned? We've seen uh our everyday lives change, our habits change, and how do we make sure that businesses are online? How do we make sure that businesses are tapped in with what's going on in technology, but also that businesses have the resources and are connected to city opportunities, whether library opportunities and other technical assistance that you can get for free around this wonderful city before they start to come out of pocket to pay consultants and other folks. So
Yeah, this is important because I think that there's a lot of different resources folks just don't know about, right? And
absolutely.
and it comes down to not just awareness and marketing and things like that, but it's about like how accessible is this information to those
Absolutely.
who really need it. So I know that you're probably really on top of that. Tell us a
Yes.
bit about your approach to this work because again, as I was talking with director Marco McIntyre, I mean, you guys have to be really intentional to be like, look, no, as he said, you guys are external facing.
Yeah.
So you got to have a real plan in place in order to do that work. Tell us a bit about how you fit into that.
Yeah. So running the Small Business Stabilization Fund, the city of Seattle was one of the first cities to really do a recovery fund grant. And so our application launched March 12th of 2020. And if we take ourselves back to that time, that's about the time that the state started to roll out shutdowns and things of that nature. And the reason why I bring that up is because it allowed us an opportunity to create a directory of small businesses here in our city. Of small businesses that needed assistance. And so we use that same directory now to do our outreach to small businesses with phone numbers, through email, making sure that businesses are in the know and making sure that businesses are in the know before we launch an application, right? Not just when hey, you have 5 days left to apply to this thing and it's going to close, but also to make sure that we're there to really walk folks through and hold their hands through. As you can imagine, not everybody is cell phone savvy. Not everybody is technology savvy. And so we really learned some lessons through that program that we take into all of our programs so that a business can just pick up a phone and someone at OED is going to answer the phone. They're going to log on to the website. They're going to walk through the application for folks that are having trouble with technology, answer all the questions that folks have. And if it's a question worth putting in our FAQ, we make sure that those go on our FAQ so that when others hop online to find it, they can find easy answers. And I think the other piece of it is, as Markham mentioned earlier, was the language access piece, right?
Mhm.
And so it's one thing to say that we're available to everyone in the city, but it's another thing to really start to work with organizations like Lake City Collective to make sure that when I call OED in language, there's someone else that can answer back in language. There's someone else that can help me fill out the application in language and answer all the questions and jump through any hoops that need to be jumped through. And so we've really been adamant about making sure that exists throughout all of our programs that we put out.
It's so important, honestly, Domonique, because when we talk about being open to diversity, it means you have to be intentional about how you receive diversity. And I really appreciate that you guys are doing some, real groundwork there. One of the things that kind of goes on in a lot of Black communities, they're like, okay, yeah, these funds come out, but they don't hit our communities. And so there's this level of imbalance here when we talk about resource allocation. How are you guys dealing with that? Because we know it's a real thing. We've seen the data, we've seen the numbers. So it's not just what people are saying or, oh, I just feel a certain way. It's actually showcased in actual data. How are you guys dealing with some of those disparities?
I love those questions because one, we make it a point to prioritize businesses from specific communities, whether we're talking about women-owned businesses, BIPOC businesses. The other that comes back is data, right? How do we as a city and as a city entity, how are we transparent about the data that we have at our disposal? And so I know through the Small Business Stabilization Fund, you can look on our website at a dashboard that exists that has all of the data from the folks that were chosen from the grant, what the demographic breakdown is. And the same will be true about this program as well. And so I think that transparency is necessary, not just for our office, but for all government offices to really get to that point. But more than that, I think that it's important that we do outreach. And I know that every business, if you ask 100 businesses if they need access to capital, 100 businesses are going to tell you, yes, I need access to capital. As we know, capital isn't always flying around. And so I do take it upon myself as a small business advocate to make sure that we're telling businesses about the other things that can impact their businesses. Programs like our digital sales access program that'll give a business a free point of sale system. Programs like the Urban League's youth website development program that'll connect a business with a website. In thinking about how businesses are getting online and getting connected to their customer base, especially from the sense of we've seen the demographics of Seattle change, and we've seen our customer bases go. All businesses have seen their customer base go all over the region. And so it's very important that we as city government are in tune and staying connected with small businesses, but also that we iterate to small businesses that they have to also stay connected with their customers, especially as they diversify from a geography perspective.
Yeah, this is really important, and I love that you guys are intentional about thinking about this and really creating strategies and approaches to address it, because if you don't do that, then all of the status quos will continue. So that's really great. Well, this is exciting because now you guys have the Storefront Repair Fund. Again, we got some generalistics here from the director, but tell us a bit about this fund in particular.
Yeah, I first want to say the application is open, and it will be open until we run out of funds. There's about $1.98 million to be granted out. It's a $2,000 grant. The application can be found on our website. We have a really cool business locator tool up in the top left corner where you can search your UBI or your business name, and it'll pre-fill some of the information for you. And some of that information includes your city business license, your UBI number, because not everybody has that off the top of their head. It's a 9-digit number. And so it's a grant similar to the Small Business Stabilization Fund, where there's $2,000. It's for small businesses with 50 employees or less. The application opened on October 18th, and we've seen to date, I checked this morning, there's about 425 applicants in there. And so there's still room to apply. As we hope businesses don't have to apply because we're hoping that businesses don't have broken windows and broken storefronts. But if you do, we do encourage you to apply. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And
so this fund actually will cover costs of repair to the damage of a brick and mortar location. And I want to make sure that we kind of understand some of the specifics around, okay, $2,000 can go a long way for some businesses, and maybe it's just a chip of the issue for other businesses. But tell us a bit about some of the ways that a business can utilize these funds.
Yeah. So the storefront repair program is for any business that had storefront damage, thinking broken windows, broken door frames, from January 1st, 2021 to present. And so it does have to be sort of in that kind of realm, and obviously present being whatever day they decide to apply, if something happens today, tomorrow, during the holidays. And so it's a $2,000 grant. They will apply. We go through the application process. We vet the business, make sure that businesses have their B&O taxes paid, make sure that there's a city license. We go through and validate all of those things, and we'll give a business a call if for some reason those things aren't in compliance. We assist businesses in working with our city finance office to get those things in compliance, and really run them through the process of making sure that they get the $2,000 grant that will hopefully help them get back to normal. As we think about a broken window, can be anywhere from a couple of $100s to, like you said, a couple of thousands of dollars. And so we really hope that this will soften the blow. The other piece that's important is thinking about if you're a small business with 5 employees, if someone comes and your window is broken and you get there in the morning, you've not only have to deal with getting this window repaired, but you're also dealing with the money that you could potentially be losing by having to focus on this window versus focusing on your customer. So
yeah. So there's a lot of I think the cost can roll over, to be honest. It's a bit of a domino effect. If you come to the business and you're opening up and your door is smashed in, right? What then? Because somebody could come in, mess with your, business furniture, whatever it is. If it's a restaurant, you got tables and chairs, maybe they're slashing things. That's why I was asking, because I think, when we think about a broken window or a broken door, oftentimes it means other things have been tampered with in the business. And so it's great to know that you guys are also thinking about that, it sounds like, and that you're saying, there's a impounding cost oftentimes when it comes down to repairing some of these things with your storefront. Now, one of my questions is this, when the $2,000 isn't enough, how do you guys help those businesses find other resources? Are there ways for them to still be plugged in with OED, but gain some more insight into, like, okay, this 2,000 was great and it helped me a little, but there's more things I got to pay for to get my business back to baseline. How are you guys kind of dealing with that gap?
Yeah, our communications team does a wonderful job of sending out a monthly newsletter with all of the resources that not only exist in our office, but exist in the region from different technical assistance partners. And that's everything from grants to other technical assistance programs. We have a plethora of just different technical assistance partners throughout the city. I don't know how much time you have. I could name a bunch of them, but in fear of forgetting any of them, they are definitely located on OED's website, whether we're talking about businesses like that will go through small business technical assistance programs like your ventures programs, your El Centro de la Razas, really just to connect folks to get them back to zero, but then, which is this program specifically, but then how do we continue to kind of move you forward, either through understanding finances, delivering different grant programs, or providing technical assistance that'll give your business the boost that folks are looking for.
Well, this is exciting. I mean, I think it's so necessary. If you travel anywhere throughout the city, you see a lot of this. And to be honest, if I don't talk about some of the root causes of why people are busting down windows and doors, I would be remiss myself. So there's also this level of, like, OED can't do all of that because there's so much more that has to happen in terms of balancing the scales of resource allocation. But I love that you guys are doing what you can for small businesses to keep them afloat, to keep them going. Make sure folks know how to get to that website.
Absolutely.
You can look right there and make sure they know how to apply for this amazing grant.
Yeah, so it's on the Office of Economic Development's website under small business resources. The last thing that I also know is you have to have 2 out of 3. That's a photo of the damage, an incident report, or a receipt for the actual incident that happened. And so it's 2 out of 3. We'll ask you for that once you are called after your application, and it gets to processing. But please reach out if you have any questions. If you're listening and you know that your neighbor has a broken window, please let your neighbor know about this program. That's the best way to get it is word of mouth. We can send all the emails we want. We can make all the phone calls we want. But we know that our communities are relational, and it's important that we spread the word. And so thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to speak about this on the show.
Absolutely. And Domonique, thank you for the work you're doing and for bringing, your advocacy to OED. I think it's so important that the Office of Economic Development, which is so external facing, actually has people that are from these communities and that have lived experience as an entrepreneur to really help navigate some of those nuanced issues that entrepreneurs face that may be overlooked by a major office. It's so important to have folks like you in those seats so that also too people can feel that relational approach that you can bring to it because you are them, right?
Absolutely.
And so there's something so specific about having people like yourself really represent what OED is doing and doing it in such a great way. Thank you so much for being with me today.
I appreciate you, and thank you for everything that you do as well, Trae.
Absolutely.
All right.
Wow, great